Good evening, and welcome to this edition of the Island Stats Sports Show. I'm your host, Earl Baston. Joining me is co-host Jason Juggling J. Ford, and this evening we have the distinct pleasure, Jace, of welcoming a Hall of Famer, Miss Debbie Jones Hunter.
Good
Ms.
evening,
Hunter was
everyone.
part of a relay team that has now been inducted into the Hall of Fame. Recognition of that esteemed group of females who ran track and field and set the stadiums alight with what they were able to accomplish in the relay. So I see you beaming, Ms. Hunter, Ms. Jones Hunter. Many people will remember the name Debbie Jones. A lot of people would have. Well, a lot of the younger people right now would have forgotten or not even known about Debbie Jones Hunter. But the good thing is someone like Jason, who's 85, 86, would have seen you as you developed. You know, I'm still a youngster and I would have seen you develop as well. But let's really get to that group of females assembled by your coach and the ability to get you ladies to do something remarkable. Now, when you were in Bermuda, you was running on grass. You get out to university, to college, and now you're running on a track. Was that for you a big thing?
Well, remember, just as a point of information, we were on grass in 1972 here locally until 1974, 5 up to 6 before I went to university. So we always ran on grass.
Yes.
But when we traveled to the international competitions like Carifta Games and things like that, they actually had a synthetic track, which we have now. So it is quite ironic now that we have the track, and I say my old buddy and a couple of my other previous track buddies, here, Cal Dale, Norbert Simons, Glenn Lake, the late great Mike Sharp, the late great Kenneth Brimmer, Donna Rayner, all of them. And we all came along, and Vivian Richards and, oh my dear, Bessie Horton, all of us. We were on grass. So if we had a synthetic track back then, who knows what everyone would have been able to accomplish. And I'm assuming, and I'm going to claim, that it would have been greatness. Because if what we accomplished on grass speaks a lot to our ability and our dedication. So once I got to Tennessee State, I had already been exposed to the synthetic track. And plus I went to the Montreal Olympics. And so that was part of the, what I would call the indoctrination into the synthetic track. But so, really, when you think about it, I'm glad that I had the experience on grass. Because it did make us stronger athletes, running wise, mentally, and all of that. And yeah, I have definitely been fortunate and blessed to experience a lot of different things in my life. And even my path to getting to Tennessee State, I think now when I look back, it's kind of, I wouldn't say remarkable, but it definitely sends a light bulb off, because I got to Tennessee State by participating in a runoff games at the Pan Am Games in Mexico City. And that's where I met Coach Temple and my other two teammates, Sandra Cheeseborough and Brenda Moorhead. And I got there, and the rest is history. Yeah.
One thing before I let Juggler jump in, Juggler, Tennessee State was in the middle of, quote unquote, for Bermudians, nowhere. Here's this young,
Still is.
Yeah. Here's this young, fast icon from Bermuda running. So let me just say, you alluded to it a little bit, but why Tennessee State for Debbie Jones?
When you grow up, you decide that you want different things in life. And my life was totally immersed in athletics. And the only institution that I wanted to go to was Tennessee State University. made that decision in my life when I was 13, before Jerry Swan had introduced me into athletics. And that's where I wanted to go. And because number one, Coach Tampa had produced Olympic champions.
Right.
Number two, I always wanted to be an Olympic champion. So I always trained hard, never attained it, but always put my best foot forward, and achieved other accolades, along the way. And I actually wanted to be able to represent my country at the best track club, organization, or university. And so when I went to Mexico City, when I said before, they were having like warm-up races before the main meet, and that's just to make sure you could size up your competition and things like that. And Mr. Long said, Jones girl, let's get in this race. I said, yes, Mr. Long, I'm ready. Burmese, we have no fear. Let's get in there.
Right, yeah.
And so after I ran the race, this coach came over to Mr. Long and myself, introduced himself, and he indeed was Coach Temple, which was really, really surreal. So he said, hi, I'm Coach Edward Temple, and I'd like to offer your athlete a scholarship to Tennessee State. I thought to myself, what? Is this for real? And so, you know what I mean? That was such a great, great moment in my life, because that's what really continued to give me blessings along the way.
Yeah.
And so we agreed that I would go to Tennessee State. But the only caveat was that I had to stay here, and I wanted to train with Clive Long for the Olympics, for the Montreal Olympics. And so after I competed in the Olympics, then I went to Tennessee State. I think that's pretty cool, because, how can you actually say that, it's going to happen? And so I was over the moon. And then once I got to Tennessee State, I said, you know what, this meeting is going to represent wow. And he was a very competitive coach. His standards were extremely high. And let's be honest, very stressful. If your coach doesn't stress you, something's wrong.
Something's wrong. Yes. Without a doubt.
So he was a very tough coach. He had a lot of rules and regulations. We always had to wear dresses. We went to any event for the university. If it was the winter time, you could wear pants, but you had to have pantyhose on. You couldn't just come out in boots. Your hair had to be groomed. You had to be totally groomed, because you represented the Tiger Bells Track Club. And for those who know, the Tiger Bell Track Club is renowned way back with Wilma Rudolph, Wani Tyus, all of those Olympians. And so he was also not only a coach, but he was also, I call him a groomer, because that's what we felt like. Everything had to be, we had to be presentable. We were young ladies. But the biggest thing about it, when you get to university, everyone's trying to find their love. Let's be honest, right? We could not talk to football players. That was right off the books. Simple as that. Cut dry. You had to be in the dorm at a certain time. If you were out anywhere, he knew exactly where you were and what you were doing.
Well, we know Hunter weren't no football player, because Hunter trapped you.
Yes, he had a good game. And that's where I met my husband.
Yes.
He did not know anything about athletics, didn't know what 100 meters was purely in baseball, growing up, Little League and all of that. Didn't have a clue. And so, and here we are, going on our 40th anniversary in January.
Congratulations.
That's what I say too. Congratulations.
So put out a review for 40 years.
Winning an award, So, really my life has been, I've been a very fortunate person, just in general, no matter how hard. You can train as hard as you want, but, you got to be committed, and you can't lose faith, and you always have to yearn and hunger, for that win.
Yes.
And I am, even to this day, I am still like that. I still am like that.
Douglas?
Madam, good evening.
Yeah.
Don't talk about no green house, no pink house, no red house, no you Barclayites. And we're not having no Barclay institutional arguments going on today.
No, we won't. But Jason knows where he stands, so I don't even think it's even worth having a conversation about that. We can have a sidebar conversation later.
Earl,
Yes.
I will say this, Earl. Rest in peace, your name.
Well, the AM can never be in view with you two.
Well, I tell you, Earl, I've had the pleasure and the privilege to share the stage, and that's a hard thing to share the stage with this woman. So much. But what I want to ask you, Miss Hunter, because as long as I've known you, even before we emceed the event together, as long as I've known you, you always had a great spirit about yourself. And when you think about sprinters, especially the 100 meters, everybody's got this type of aura or arrogance or a confidence, right? To have to be in that. Where did that come from for you in your earlier years? Where did that come from? Because even listening to you now, like you always want to take on the world and you fear nothing. Where did that come from growing up?
I can tell you. Norbert, Stan, you want me to keep going?
Oh, but before that.
Oh no.
Well, you know, it's first of all, just as a little background, I'm a Brown. I'm a proud Brown. And so, you know, when you grow up in this household with Beverly Jones and Beverly Brown, then Jones, and my father, Clinton Jones, they always, in a lovingly way, expressed their, what I want to say, expressed their requirement. Their requirement that we, as my sisters, always had to put our best foot forward. Now, it's strange to say this, but I don't know where my competitive spirit came from, meaning that I sometimes even look at myself and say, you know, Hunter, you need to chill a little bit. I can really be like, I can really go like crazy when, like with my grandson, while out there in the yard, I'm 64. I can't run after with a 4 or 5-year-old. And I'm out in the yard acting like I'm a teenager. So, you know, I think for me, it's always about enjoying the moment. And I just enjoy every moment. And I also think that, like alluded to what Earl said, those guys on the track team were pretty, they're competitive. And, you know, and I actually got in there and trained with some of the boys sometimes because I knew that I couldn't get better unless I extended myself or overextended myself. And so I always stepped out there. But you're right, though, Jason. I traveled around the world, stayed with different people in the track villages, because when you go to these major competitions, you are rooming with people that you don't know from different countries. And I would get in there, and I just think it's just my Bermudian spirit. And I also think it's the way we were raised. We were always raised to communicate, to be cordial, to have a conversation, to always express yourself, and most importantly, use your manners, right? Pardon me, good morning, good afternoon. And I think that also went a long way for me. And so, you know, I am always like this. I wake up in the morning and I'm in a really jolly mood, you know. I can get pretty upset, yes. But for the most part, my spirit has always been a chocolatey spirit. But I think that also is great because of so much pressure that I was always under in Bermuda. For the young people that don't know, you know, Bermuda was really very competitive, and they had grand expectations for you. So when we had sports day, Jason, you know, up on the stadium, that hill was crowded. Nobody skipped school that day, right? And it was bragging rights like galore. And my biggest fear was that I was going to be beaten. So I always trained hard. And then after I achieved maybe a record or two, I just knew that those records were meant to be broken. So I always looked forward to the next phase. So, you know, one day, I know I got to get back out there Monday and do those 10 400s and, you know, feel really bad. And I know, so for me, it was just like a stepping stone, continuing on, because I knew that what I wanted to achieve, I hadn't achieved yet. And that was my progression to that level.
Well, what we're going to do, we're going to take a commercial break. But when we come back, we're going to talk about that relay team. The relay team.
Yes, wonderful. Yes.
Not just for the school, but internationally as well.
Yes.
We'll be right back.
Great.
Putting down a weapons.
You seeing this?
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level. Wake up in the morning with enough coffee to keep you running throughout the entire day. Your pet at home deserves the best. Stock up on dog food to keep your puppy happy. Need a quick, tasty lunch at home? Your chicken nuggets will be jumping right out of the freezer. What's a movie night without popcorn? You can never have too much. Lindo's Next Level. Why go anyplace else?
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends. And that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
Welcome back. Well, Ms. Hunter, you were in Bermuda, you were with a group of people that you would have grown and bonded with. You go to Tennessee State, and here's a new group of people that you got to work with. How did that relationship grow for you guys to be recognized and do such a good job?
Well, when you get to university and you get that athletic scholarship, it's all about business. The requirements, your schoolwork, your grades, the expectation of you to excel, to place in races is great. And I think that when we all came together, because quite frankly, I'll be honest, Brenda Moorhead she may have been number 2 in the world behind Evelyn Ashford. Chandra Cheeseborough was there. I believe she may be 3rd or 4th in the world. Kathy McMillan was there, and she was the Olympic gold medalist in I think it was the gold or the silver in the long jump. And there were other members of our team there, but from that level of competition, you automatically knew that it was business. And it wasn't a time to really play around. And I think that we all had achieved some form of success as junior athletes. And as we got together and relished the thought that we were Tiger Bells from Tennessee State, the heritage, the history, we all were of the same mindset that, we are going to be the best. We are going to continue to represent Tennessee State in the same way. And so for that, I think that progression piece for us was quite easy. For me, what was difficult was that, when you get into Southern country, not everyone understands the Bermuda twang, the Bermuda slang. Mm-hmm. And so for me, that piece was a little bit of a challenge, I would say, for the first month. But after that, everybody knew who I was, that I was from Bermuda, the best island, always ambassador for Bermuda. And people just end up embracing me. And so for that part of it, I was fortunate. The other part, which was a great plus for me, was I was a versatile athlete, meaning that I could run the 100, 200, and 400. And that's how I was able to amass so many medals in Carifta. And that was another piece I say that I was blessed with, because I just had I was a strong sister, strong Bermudian. And so, when we all got together, it was about passing the baton. It was about making the times track meets. It was also about making the times at track practice. And it really was about talking to each other. And I think when you are of the same mindset, and I know when you are of the same mindset and your vision is tunneled in the same way, then we feed off each other. And most importantly, when I knew that those girls were quick, and I knew that I wasn't just as quick as them, I made sure that one day I was going to be quicker than them. Right. And I did achieve that. So, you always have to have a strong spirit and a commitment to your own cause, because my coach was tough. We would go to track meets and we had a van, like a 16-seater van. I told this story at the Barclay Founders Day. We had a 16-seater van and he had a gold Cadillac. Yeah. And we get to the track meet and he would say to, Brenda, myself, Cheese Bar, and whomever else in the race, listen, shoe girls, there's 4 of you. I expect for you to come first to fourth. Like you felt the pressure, because we knew if we got first to fourth or even the top 3, we were going to ride back in that gold Cadillac. Hunter was going to miss that opportunity. You know that. So, you know what I mean? I got up there and did my thing and always rode back in that gold Cadillac with the other 2 Americans. Why not? Why not a Bermudian? Why not me? You know what I mean? I worked hard. And you know what I mean? I said, you know what? Yeah, this is the real deal, And one thing I will say, Clive Long really did teach me a lot about being tough. A lot of times about being tough, and never miss track practice. What are you really here for? And I'll tell you this little secret. I am not a water fiend. I'm from this lovely island, but I'm not a water fiend. He had me out there in that deep Horseshoe Bay where the water is like dark, swimming. You know what I mean? Because, when your coach tells you you can do these things and realizes the potential that you don't see, you know what I mean? You got to put faith in it. And Clive gave me a great platform to get to Tennessee State. And then Coach Temple had the platform. And, then we broke the indoor world record in the 4x2. And for me, that was like my ultimate achievement, because not everybody can be an Olympian on that day. It's a special person. Philadelphia is a prime example. It's that special day when everything comes together. You've worked hard and boom, you're an Olympic champion, and no one can take that from you. And when you break a world record, even though they are broken, no one can take that accolade from you. And
you held that record for that period of time.
Yes. And, I was so humbled, you know what I mean? I'm there with the Americans, and here was the little girl from Bermuda, 21 square miles, you know what I mean? It was always about representing Bermuda. And so, yeah, I am, even to this day, I'm very humbled by what I have achieved, because I couldn't have done it without the help of a lot of people. Yeah. So I gotta give them, I got to give them their props. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
You speak of your toughness, and I'm thinking, obviously going to school in the South, especially during that time.
Oh, yes.
Outside of school, the pressures of the society or what was going on outside of the school, how was it you was able to stay focused, even though there was obviously bigger goals on the track and to stay together? But I'm pretty sure there was so much off the track influences that's really probably get into your life. How was that just growing up, especially in the South? That's what I'm in a small school, and you coming from a small island. How did that all play out?
Well, first and foremost, Coach Temple had strict rules for the track team. So yes, and our manager actually had a vehicle. Our manager was his daughter. And so she would take us like to the grocery store, and then we go to the mall. But every weekend we were traveling to a different track meet, whether it be indoor or outdoor. So on the weekends, we didn't have really much time to really socialize, because we would leave maybe on Thursday evening. We'd had to get our work done by Friday before we got to the track. And then we compete for the weekend, and then we drive back late Sunday afternoon. So it was a pretty stressful but rewarding commitment and routine. So there were a lot of times that they have different things that were going on in Nashville. We just couldn't go. And quite frankly, Coach Tampa would say to us, this is not a place for you all to be. And then, of course, being a Tiger Bell came with a lot of responsibility. And people, in Nashville looked at the Tiger Bells in a different way. And so, what I did do, though, was I did become a member of a sorority when I was at Tennessee State. So I'm a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, the pink and green ladies, the lovely ladies. And so, I did that. And once again, people would say, I can't believe you did that. Well, I'll step out and try not everything, but most things. So, and then I like the service, the community service piece. But quite frankly, as track girls, our lives were just basically that, track. Even when it was Thanksgiving, I didn't come home to Bermuda. I spent it with my coach, his wife, and his daughter that was, the manager. And some of us will go to visit our other teammates' families. But yeah, it's the sports life and the scholarship world is totally different. People like to get out there and party. We were all about the business. And for me, most importantly, I never wanted to embarrass my parents, my country, and then myself.
Yeah.
So
let me ask you, because one of the biggest things is when you're recognized by a group of people for your accomplishments, and the four of you were recognized by this group to put you in the Hall of Fame. Unfortunately, you were not able to go because of another commitment. But when you get that phone call to tell you have been recognized, your accomplishments have been recognized by people who you probably didn't even know that were looking at what you were doing. How does that make you feel personally for what you have done? And a lot of the things, I wouldn't say you forgot about them, but they became natural to you.
Well, I'll be honest. When I had received the email from Chandra Cheeseborough, because she's actually the coach of the Tiger Bells right now at Tennessee State, the team, one that's on the poster with me and on part of the World Record. So she was the main contact. And when she sent the email, I have to admit, I was stoked. I was really, really excited. I said to myself, oh my God, I really can't believe that this is happening, because, you can run and break records, but when Nike comes and enshrines us in the National Civil Rights Museum, where anybody can visit in Memphis, and there is our poster and my face, and I'm gonna tell you, I am still stoked about that, and some of our friends from Tennessee State went to the museum and didn't know that the Tiger Bells had been enshrined with the relay team. And they sent my husband all of these photos like, Hunter, man, I can't believe, look at Deborah. And for a Bermudian to be put in a National Civil Rights Museum with your American teammates, it was just phenomenal. It really was. And I've seen a lot of pictures, and I've spoken with Nike, because our track team was the first Black female track team that Nike sponsored when they came into existence.
Right.
And so, there we are running for Nike. Then we broke the world record. Then we went to the Nationals in LA just before I graduated. And then, we did the poster. We didn't even know the poster was going to happen. We were just running in the finals, and all three of us happened to come first, second, and third.
Yeah.
And they took the shot. And the poster is hanging here in my house. My mom, rest her soul, was always into coordinating. She cut Nike off. Can you believe it? She cut Nike off to make sure that the blue frame matched our blue outfits. What can I say? Yeah. But
Don't tell Nike that.
Yeah. But what is so cool, Nike actually sent me, let me turn around, a new poster in the 50th memorabilia.
Right.
So,
wow.
yeah.
Special.
So, but yeah, I mean, that is a truly, truly special moment for me. And I still really, really am so excited that I actually, made it to that point, because it's that everyone gets enshrined in the Civil Rights National Museum. And that's also where, you remember Martin Luther King, all of his memorabilia is there from Memphis and all of that, and other great people. So yeah, humbling. And that's why I would say to people, you never know where you're going to come from, but we have a lot to offer in Burmese. We are young youth are extremely talented. We just have to step out on faith. You know what I mean? Just put no guts, no glory. I still think like that, and it's get in there and let's get it done. Do it for yourselves. You know what I mean? Excel and get a great education and come back and give back to the country or start your own business. Why waste your talent? So I am, I'm always about the productivity side of it, and yeah, I can definitely say I have paid my dues, and I am very thankful that I have been truly blessed. I am. I have to be honest about that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Before I let Jason ask his last question.
Yes.
Just the fact that you are a Hall of Famer, recognized not just by sport, but for the fact that it's civil rights. It's
exactly
it's all of that kind of, it's hard to put in words even to ask you about it, because
that's what I'm saying. I'm lost for words, because it's, you know what I mean? Like, I would have never thought that my life would have taken that journey. And Nike was just so appreciative, because they were like, this is something that, and they can boast about, they sponsored us. And I think that it is a part of my life that I wish that my parents were here to experience.
Sure.
But I know they're looking down and
smiling.
Oh yeah, I got that chest all stuck out. It was all about that. But yeah, and what's so cool is that my children were born in America, because of course my house was American,
Right.
So whenever they get back to America, and even my in-laws from St. Louis and all of that, when they go down to Memphis, you know what I mean? It's hard to put into words. It really is. I am just like, it's like an OMG moment for me. Still is an OMG moment for me. And when I get there to see it, I'm sure I'll be overwhelmed.
Sure.
Yeah.
Jay?
So many more questions I want to ask you, but you know what? I'm a little curious, because I always like hearing people's stories, and you mentioned so much about your teammates, but who was probably their closest rivals during that time period?
Well, Jason.
I know you can tell me nobody really, but still, I mean, someone
Let's go from Boston.
I'm going to try to answer this as humbly as I can, because I'm not really one to boast, but there really wasn't too many teams, women's teams, that could really touch the Tiger Bells, because, my coach had the best of the best. If you've had the first top two fastest ladies in the world, and then, I wasn't too shabby myself. It was always, we always were the threat. So we were always under more pressure to win every time. And it was expected. Oh, well, here comes the Tiger Bells. Oh yeah, they're going to win every time. And I'll tell you, sometimes when I put on my Tiger Bell uniform, I was humble in my soul, but in my mind, I said, we getting ready to take care of business here. You know what I mean? Like,
Do you still have that outfit?
this is first. Oh no, they took them back and washed them, but I can only imagine what it looks like now on me. But yeah, you know what I mean? So sometimes you have to have a little chip on your shoulder because the pressure is so tough, and you have to believe that you're going to always do it. And so that was the tough part for us with our coach, was that he was used to winning, and that's what he knew, and that's what he expected from us. And I think that's how we became tough women in sport each time we got out on the track. But what I will say is that, you know, growing up here in Bermuda and going to Berkeley, the teachers also had a pivotal role in molding me. You know, how do you speak? How do you present yourself? How do you write? All of this, you know, we all complained when we went to high school. And then once I got out, I thought, oh my God, like this is what it is all about. If you cannot communicate, you can't get your story across, how can you receive anything? Yeah. So, I mean, I am just so happy that as a Bermudian, I was able to put Bermuda on the map. And that to show that we always have shining lights from this great island. Yeah,
Ms. Hunter, I know I asked you to be with us till 8:30, but I think you have so much of a message to. We're going to take another commercial break, but can you just stay and join us for another couple of minutes just to relive and talk about the moments?
Sure. No charge. Sure, no charge.
Thank you very much. We'll be right back.
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, you know, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends. And that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
Putting down the weapons.
You seeing this?
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level. Wake up in the morning with enough coffee to keep you running throughout the entire day. Your pet at home deserves the best. Stock up on dog food to keep your puppy happy. Need a quick, tasty lunch at home? Your chicken nuggets will be jumping right out of the freezer. What's a movie night without popcorn? You can never have too much. Lindo's Next Level. Why go anyplace else?
And welcome back. Well, the two of you would know this.
Oh yes, that you mean from Miss Nachika Trot?
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, that's my sorority sister. Yeah, she's another great lady of pink and green. Yes. Uh-huh.
Oh, well,
Barkley too. Yes. But you know what? I'm going to tell you. This is the one thing that my parents did not allow me to do. Well, I did it once, and then I got caught not being very smart and responsible. Was ride a mobilette.
oh,
So when I went 16, I was on a mobilette. Was doing a little bit of foolishness. Let's be honest, we all do foolishness here and there.
yes. We
And
got
my dad said, "Oh, really? That's it." no mobilette. You're running. You're going to get an athletic scholarship. So I was not allowed to ride a mobilette, period. Yeah. Couldn't have a boyfriend. I had a boyfriend at 13. He asked the boyfriend, you have to leave. That was in track. I said, what? Didn't back answer. Just left it alone. So back in the day, our parents had their expectations of us, that we must do. And I did. And a lot of times I did things because I had to do the right thing, even though I may have thought, do I really have to? It was always about putting the best foot and the right foot forward.
Sure.
My friends were track friends. I mean, I didn't have, I couldn't hang out on the weekends, up to National Stadium and at these sessions. Remember these sessions they had?
Sure.
Do all that,
Stop giving up secrets. Stop giving up secrets.
Like I couldn't do anything like that. I did go to the ag show, had me a new outfit, but I had to go to track practice right at 4:30. So you know what I'm saying?
So let me ask you, because we today we talk about what we didn't have or what we had to deal with in the past. Do you think not having a synthetic track built that character and that understanding that you lot had, having to work a lot harder on that national stadium field?
Yeah, it did. It did have a great impact on us. But you know what I really think? I think that we really didn't even know what the other countries had.
Right.
So until we got there, but then when we came back, we just fell right back in line with what we had to do. And if you have to run on grass with spikes that are this long,
sure,
that takes a lot of strength. Your legs are got to be up, your knees are got to be up, your arms have to be moving. Even when you get tired, Mr. Long would tell you, go over to the trees and throw up and come on back. You got more to do, And you're looking at him like, are you serious? But what you did, rain, blow, or shine, So I think not having the track for me personally really didn't make much of a difference, because I knew I was always coming back, and what I had at home was what I was going to work with. And if those conditions weren't as easy as the synthetic track and other things, I knew that we may have had an extra edge, a competitive edge, But I would say I think that the Commonwealth Games in New Zealand, when I went there with the team of guys, being the only female really was a test for me as I matured, because I was 16. You're way down there, the guys are staying kind of far away from you and all of that. That was for me the light bulb that said, you know what, Dale, this is where you want to be, and you want to continue forward. And when you're down there, you hear all the other Caribbean islands talking about, how great they are and all of that. And I said, I'm great too, from Bermuda. You know what I mean? So that passion, you know what I mean? And that pride and all of that, I always had that. I always thought that I was the best Burmese ever. When I got into those competitions, I didn't really worry about everybody else who was competing. It was always just about me. I was focused on me and doing the best. For Bermuda. And so, remember when you went to the inter-school sports, everybody used to say, oh yeah, in the newspaper, who's gonna beat Debbie Jones? And I'm home nervous saying, oh Lord, please don't let nobody beat me. You know what I mean? So I was a nervous person. People may not have realized it, you know what I mean? But I think that what always kept me on edge and kept my commitment and drive. And I really didn't want anyone to beat me.
Right.
And so I just said, Deborah, keep going on. But I love athletics. I love track. I love track and field. I'm a track girl.
Sure. Jay?
It's amazing just listening to you, because I was also thinking earlier when we had a conversation with Flora Duffy, right? So when you're blessed with a talent, you're obviously blessed with speed.
Yeah.
But still hearing the sacrifices for you to become great. That's a story in itself, because we know so many people along our path who probably have more talent, raw talent than us, but then sacrifice. They make those sacrifices. Then put in the extra. Wasn't able to dig it out when the coaches was on their back. wasn't okay. Everybody going out. Well, I'm going out too. The coach told me stay. Oh, there's sacrifices that you made to become great and to get to that level. Speak on that, because I think a lot of young folks think that sometimes that's not like it's a slippery slope. You know, they want to at that age. You saying 16? That's an age where you're trying to find who Debbie Jones really is, right?
Correct. You're right. Exactly. You know what I mean? You know, it's strange, Jason, that when you ask that question, because sometimes I ask myself too, like, why did you keep going on? How did you keep going on? Because you knew what the sessions were going to be like. You knew before you got there. You know, you knew Saturday mornings that we had to go up. See, people say Horseshoe Bay now is not what Horseshoe Bay was before.
No,
They
not at
had
all.
those sand dunes, and we had to run up and down. Everybody. I mean, there were days I got back and I crying back. My mom was crying. I was just like crying. I'm never coming back. And she's like, yeah, whatever. Somebody tell you let's run a race and you're gonna go crazy again. Yes. So you know what I mean? I just had that. You know how you have your burning desire, like you have your best food or you have like your best buddy, and my best buddy was track. Isn't that crazy though? But you know what I mean? Like I always yearned to be better. And I think that, you know, you have to step out on faith sometimes and say, let me not do this or let me not hang out. Let me just continue on with this path. It's going to bear fruit, but you have to just have it in your soul. And for me, I had it. It was, and sometimes people say you either have it or you don't.
Right.
You may have it, but there's a different degree of elevation of having it. And I was kind of like at a different degree. But I'm going to tell you, I love myself dearly, and I just knew that, you know what, this is the path, this is the place for me. And once you start winning and you get that winning taste in your mouth, there's nothing like it. And then you keep saying, you know what, let me get a bigger taste of winning in my mouth. And that's, I mean, I do. I'm just a really competitive person. But you know what, too? I knew that I had a little bit of talent and I didn't want to waste my talent. And then I said, why am I going to have my parents paying for me to go to college? I could run and not have them pay. So why not? You know, so I was always about my family, too, and doing, you know, the best. But I think that when you get into any type of sport, you know, you need to create your roadmap and you need to be committed to your roadmap. And, you know, we just, like, you know, for me, it was normal. Get up, go training, you know, go Barkley, do your 15 subjects, then go training, then come home, do your homework, wash your shirts out for school, do your dishes, you know, and get in bed. Saturdays, you know what I mean? But like, even if the women on my team, like Bernadette Wilson, you know, Donna Burgess, Andrea Trott, our relay team, Donna Bean, I mean, Vivian Richards, all those Sterling girls. And, you know, we had a team of 34. So we were a really true family. So if you didn't come training, somebody called you. Or Mr. Long would be on his mobilette or his Morris Minor coming to pick you up to tell you to get to training. And so we all were sharing the same experience and hunger. And I think that's what also helped us, you know, in our journey. We were called the Striders. Even when we raised money for our tickets, we walkathons from Somerset to town, trashathons. We had little dances, you know, all of that stuff. We were truly a family. And I think that's what also, and our parents were extremely involved.
Supportive, So Juggler, let me tell you this because it's been told to me 117 times.
Oh gosh.
So there were a group of guys who ran track that went to school at Sands. There was a group of females that ran track that went to school at Barkley. The guys, remember back in the day, there were you had to catch the bus, or you had to get a ride, or you had.
Mm-hmm.
The boys from Sands would get out of school at 3:30 and beat the girls that were coming from Barkley to the National Stadium to train, because all they wanted was to stretch if the girls in their balloons.
That is so true.
So the incentives were, I need to be at the stadium, mate, and Clive could take whatever he wants out of me as long as I'm getting a chance to see those girls in those balloons. Track and field.
And trust you me, Jason, we didn't disappoint. We showed up. We showed up and we showed up. Yes, we did.
You remember, Ms. Hunter, when we emceed that event together? I had many memories of Barkley, but one was Jim, because that style, or you want to call it fashion at that time, was the shorts.
That's right.
And we made sure, that's right. We went and set up on the wall at National State. We went and set up on the wall because, number one, we got to see him warm up and jump along the pit there.
Yeah.
We always come across there. Always on the bank and see you guys come around the corner. But it was always the shorts, right? And that's why, to be honest with you, I probably really don't like netball anymore, because I don't see no bloomers. I mean,
the whole outfits have changed. And I mean, we always provided attraction for the crowd.
I mean, hey,
always did, but those are the fun parts that we talk about, because it's true. You know what I mean? That we'd stretch and the guys be over there talking a whole lot of nonsense, And of course, we all needed inspiration to get through the training day. And we were a group. I'm going to tell you, we were definitely a good group, and still is. I mean, we still see each other, talk nonsense, and you know what I mean?
I know.
Yeah, we do. Have a good giggle. The former director, Simon, always reminds us of many stories.
Sure. Some that can never be revealed.
Can never be revealed. No, we won't do that. Thank you, Earl.
I got a question.
Oh boy.
I got a question, because during these little sessions, or training sessions, I'm pretty sure the competitive juices were flowing. The talk was juicy. I'm pretty sure we had some men versus women races.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's so funny you said that, Jason, because one thing that Clive Long did was we had throwers, jumpers, long distance, sprinters, or the grouping. And when we had our track meets, everyone had to have a relay team, no matter what. And we would always compete against each other. So we knew we would always leave the throwers behind or what have you, right? But we would always embrace each other. Like when everybody came in, it was like a big celebration. It was just like we were like really like stoked athletes, But one thing I did was when I got up there where I knew that my times were at a level that I needed to raise, I then decided that I was going to train with the guys. Now, some of them didn't like it, but I thought to myself, yeah, I know why.
Who didn't like it? Who was too slow? Who was too slow?
See, you want to tell tales on it.
I'm not going to tell you those who really.
They're probably a little bit early because they're falling off a bit. Then I understand.
No, but you see, I knew that, like speed-wise, I really couldn't keep up with them, but I knew my endurance was pretty good, right? And I knew mentally I'm going to get in some of them's head, and they ain't going to do too sharp. So, you get over there and I talk, hey guys, what's up? Hey, doing, yeah. And people like, yeah, I'm going to get you right.
Hey, Jay, you heard how she's talking?
I picked them off.
You can just imagine that a little octagon, a little bit. So guys, how you doing?
Yeah, what's up? Long as they okay, I'm getting ready to run first 200. I looked up and I saw two of them who I really like. I said, yeah, guess what? These two guys are mine today. And I used to run my heart out and they would be upset because I see them trying to get away from me, but I got up there, look at them, smile, and keep on running. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm just a competitive beast. And I would take on, my fear was very minimal when it came to training. And so I knew that if I didn't train with the guys, I mean, you gotta push yourself a little bit more each day. And I loved when I would come to the track to know I could train with the guys at certain days. That was just my like I was stoked all day. Oh yeah, it's on now. I'm getting ready to get to the guys today. So, because I'm going to prove a point that some of us girls can beat some of you guys on this track team. And that's what brought me joy.
Sure. So let me ask you, and I know Jay always asks this question, so I'm going to ask it today. Who was that biggest influence locally, and then that biggest influence when you said Tennessee?
Oh, wow. I would have to say at Tennessee State, my biggest influence was Coach Temple. I'm going to start that way and then dress back. And the reason why I say that is because he had a different level of, he communicated his expectation differently. He was a person who was, what he would always say, walk soft but carry a heavy stick, meaning you ain't got to do a whole lot of talking, but you show me on the track what you can do.
Sure.
And so he was, and just his, just the way how, when I got there, what he expected of women athletes, as we moved up through the ranks, and how he really, really embraced, like I was the only Tiger Bell that went into the business, Aaron, and I got my degree in accounting. So it was always tough, with the track meets and the like. He was always saying to me, shoot, Jones, there ain't nothing you could do, girl. You could run this many races, ain't nothing you could do. You know what I mean? And when someone of that caliber tells you that you can do more, you just embrace it. So he was the big influencer in my college life. And as a tough coach, he even pushed me more to attain more. Dressing back down, when you talk about Bermuda, I have to say that I'm going to name them off. The first person was Jerry Swan. When I talk about on the coaching side and introducing to track, Jerry Swan, because he's the one who introduced me to Clive Long. That's how I got into track. And then Clive was a really no-nonsense person, and I believe he is the one who really ignited the beast in me. Actually, he really was. And then the Striders, my track team here in Bermuda, were the ones who really kept me grounded because we all shared the same dream, and it would have been tough for us to be out there by ourselves. Bremner was out there all by herself before we nuts came along and joined her on the Striders. And then going back, my mom was a sprinter. My dad was a long distance runner. And I really did embrace the genes they gave me. I said, you know what? These are not going to be wasted. God has given this to me for a particular reason. And yeah, that's what, but it was running when I was 8 years old. There's some people that I couldn't beat. One person I know for sure was Sonia Paul. Sonia Paul was a beast. I wish she would have still ran. She was really, really good. And so those are the people that have been important in my life. But one thing I have learned is that once you finish your career and you have a family, you have to let your children do what they want to do. Now, I would have loved for my children to run. My children were great athletes coming through elementary school. When they got to middle school, I don't know what happened. But I said, you know what? My son was on the national squad for football. My daughter is she's a fantastic student, both my son and my daughter, but my daughter is really a real bookworm. And so, those type of genes, if my husband and I gave to them, that's what I'm happy for in their contribution, to their lives and to Bermuda. But I have learned that was one piece that I wish had been a little different. But then I realized it's not about you, Deborah. Parents, you bring your children along, you nurture them, but you make them hungry for what they want. And just like my mom and dad made me hungry, I made my children hungry, and I also had expectations for them. So yeah, I had a lot of moving parts that I was lucky to put all together, not waste. But I think at the end of the day, I really was about getting the job done at all costs, meaning sacrificing, couldn't go out on the weekends and all of that. But I always had people around me that also fed into the same narrative. And we all wanted to get our track scholarships. That's what I mean. The number of athletes on the Stratus that had scholarships are phenomenal.
Yeah.
I would hope that one day someone would publish all of the names that came through athletics that got scholarships and are, productive citizens working in Bermuda, maybe abroad also.
Yes. Well,
it has been a great ride. I'm gonna tell you.
A shining bright light of Debbie Jones Hunter. I want to thank you very much and congratulations on being recognized into the Hall of Fame, not just for what you, like I said, when you start talking about the civil rights movement, to be recognized by some people who probably never even watched a track meet, but knowing what you and your teammates were able to accomplish, being the first Black group of ladies recognized
absolutely.
Nike.
By Nike, absolutely. Says a lot, doesn't it?
It's a huge accomplishment. And the fact that you had 3 females from the US and 1 from this tiny little speck in the middle of the Atlantic.
That's right. Very important. That's right. Very important.
You actually made them what they are today.
Well, thank you, Earl. I'll take that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But you think about it, there's a Bermudian there. And I think for me, that was the biggest piece that, somebody from Bermuda is with these Americans in the Civil Rights Museum, that we as Black women did phenomenal in sport. We won a lot of races continuously, which was really exceptional.
Sure.
And very tough to do because, you can have a bad day any day.
Any day.
And so, it was a pressurized sporting career, but I am blessed for everything that I have achieved, people that have helped me out financially, even through business, everything, just want to say a big thank you. I don't think I'd ever say thank you enough because I never say it's about me. It's about everybody and then me in that order.
Well, I want to thank you very much. We're going to take another commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to be joined by Colin Hussein from the Trinidad and Tobago Triathlon Federation, talking about the Carifta Triathlon that's set to take place this weekend. We'll be right back. Thank you, Miss Debbie Jones.
Thank you for having me. It's been wonderful. Jason, love you, even though you're in that greenhouse. Earl, love you too.
Love you.
Most thankful.
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level. Wake up in the morning with enough coffee to keep you running throughout the entire day. Your pet at home deserves the best. Stock up on dog food to keep your puppy happy. Need a quick, tasty lunch at home? Your chicken nuggets will be jumping right out of the freezer. What's a movie night without popcorn? You can never have too much. Lindo's Next Level. Why go anyplace else?
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends. And that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
It's putting down the weapons.
You seeing this?
And welcome back. Well, first of all, I want to thank Debbie Jones Hunter for joining us. And now we're joined by Colin. Am I saying it right, Hussein?
That's correct. Hi, good
That is
night.
correct. Okay. Well, this coming weekend, we have the Carifta Triathlon, where we have young people within the ages of 11 through 21. Now, they're in different age groups, 11 to 12, 13 to 15, 16 to 19, and 20 to 21, taking place at the Clearwater Beach in the East End on Saturday and Sunday. So Colin, let me ask you about how the progression of the Trinidad Triathlon Federation has been going throughout the years.
Okay, good night, and thanks, Earl and Jason, for having me. The Trinidad and Tobago Triathlon Federation, of course, based in Trinidad, one of the non-governmental sporting associations. We're affiliated to the World Triathlon Governing Body and also affiliated to all of the national sports organizations and administration in Trinidad. Triathlon has been a growing sport in Trinidad, I would say, over the last 5 years or so. Of course, COVID came and put a little damper on the youth's involvement after the last Carifta, but I think we have bounced back. We have a nice young team this year going to Carifta. A lot of the kids in the younger age groups, which I'm happy to see. We recently hosted the school series aquathlon over the last weekend at the National Aquatic Center, and the turnout was amazing. You know, we had close to 100 school children coming out, new to the sport, as well as those who, you know, are experienced. So I think overall, based on what the Federation has been doing, we're making good progress, maybe not as good as we would like it to be, but again, coming out of COVID, you know, it had been a challenge with the kids being able to come out and even the adults to train. So now it's sort of regrouping.
Sure. So this weekend, obviously, I mean, expectations for every country coming, including Bermuda, is to dominate. But realistically, you say, you know, you guys have worked your way out of COVID. We have worked our way out of COVID as well. But we just held or hosted the World Series event here, where we had the day before, we had you know, the age group championships, and then on the day of the triathlon, we had the duathlon. So our kids have now had the opportunity of racing in front of large crowds, which is something that doesn't always happen. The other thing is that they've now had that competitive juice flowing. As you know, in previous events, you would just have the parents there supporting their kids. But now that these kids in Bermuda have had this opportunity, what do you think your organization and your kids will face? You know, knowing that these kids in Bermuda have had this opportunity, and now you're come here to kind of quiet everything down and silence everybody because you want to dominate.
I think, you know, Trinidad has always produced a fairly strong team and had a good showing in Carifta over the years. Again, you know, we've had 4 persons going to the recent Commonwealth Games in Birmingham.
Yes.
Two of those athletes will be representing Trinidad at these Carifta Games over the weekend. So, you know, we have some strength there. We have a couple of the experienced ones. You know, there's one guy who's in Tampa right now studying. He is flying in as well. And, you know, some of the the kids, we've seen where that intense program of about 8 weeks, and then we got a couple more weeks after Hurricane Fiona gave us a postponement. We were happy for that.
Sure.
5 or 6 weeks extra.
Uh-huh.
We had an intense program with the national coaches, pulling that team together every weekend and all the events that we had that they could have competed in. While we do not have as many kids as before, the contingent is only about 13 athletes. We're well represented across all the age groups, both male and females. And what we've seen with the kids gelling together as a team, and that excitement and enthusiasm, we just want to wish all the athletes the best as we get back out there to start competing regionally.
Sure. Jay?
Once again, welcome to the show, Colin. Listening to you guys, I'm always interested in the grassroots side of it, especially as administrators and coaches coming through COVID. And, I've always heard a lot of different sport organizations losing kids, especially during the COVID. We had a great bit of kids prior, and then COVID hit, and then distractions went, and they end up taking up another sport. What are some of the challenges that you guys faced coming through COVID, trying to not only grow the sport, but also keep the kids that you had in your program?
Yeah, it was challenging. I mean, that prolonged lockdown in all the countries, right? Especially Trinidad, where we just could not go out to train. It really posed a challenge on the kids and having to attend school from home and all these other challenges. But what we did is we kept close to the clubs and the coaches to ensure that the kids who were still interested and who were there could do whatever training they could online. So we had a lot of Zwift training with cycling, the core workouts at home via Zoom, use the technology, and tried our best just to retain those who we know we could have retained. Obviously, we had a couple of the good ones falling off. Some not because of COVID, some just decided to move on into another sport for scholarships and move and studying abroad, etc. But I think generally what we did is we maintained a base. I would say we have a lot of work to do, and we've started from the ground up now to rebuild. It'll probably take us another maybe 8 months to a year to kind of get all the clubs really back up firing. We've been giving them grants to host events, etc., really supporting. And the Ministry of Sport as well has given us some funding to at least assist with Carifta this year. So all of those things sort of just adds into the pot to make it, a little more exciting for us in triathlon.
Sure. Well, let me just tell you that your team plus other teams are on their way. They're due to arrive in Bermuda in just about just under 2 hours. They're on their way from Miami. They're due to get here at 11:07. I was just checking on the flight.
Keeping a close track. I know you want to see the teams. You want to see the.
You got to see the competition. You have to see the competition. That's the key. I mean, it must be exciting for young people to get an opportunity to. I mean, we've all watched the track and field of Carifta. We've all watched the swimming of the Carifta Championships. Now we're introducing. This is the 5th year of the Carifta Triathlon. Getting this up and running, because I talked to a lot of the guys that were instrumental from the Bermuda side in making sure this happens, but from a Trinidad side, making sure that the kids in Trinidad have this opportunity to find out where they are, because at an age of 11 to 12 you gauge yourself, and then 13 to 15 you gauge yourself again. But having this opportunity, how important is it for a country like Trinidad to have this for their kids?
Yeah, I think it's super important in terms of the kids having this opportunity. A lot of them, it's their first, huge tournament. In fact, we have 1 or 2 kids, I believe, who have never actually competed at this stage before, and they're now on the national team and they're coming. So it's a huge opportunity for all of the kids who are participating, the new ones, as well as the guys the persons we've had in before. But what I also want to say is the future of triathlon, and the future of sports and the whole, and the potential we're seeing for people who want to get into sports and make it at the pro level. is you would know it's limitless. It's really really great potential now. So as a federation, we're really committed to doing that. Plus, next year we're going to host the Youth Commonwealth Games, and triathlon is a sport that's been included.
That's right. I know
So
that. Yeah.
that's huge for Trinidad, right? So
Mhm.
so the kids now and everyone who wants to be a part of it next year, there's a great opportunity because we're having it at home, right?
Right.
So cost and logistics and everything is a lot easier now to put out a better team and have enough time from now to really groom this team. So I think a lot is going on with triathlon. World Triathlon is providing excellent support for us. They have sent a qualified swimming coach to have a swimming camp all paid for by them. They're doing some work in Bermuda this weekend. They're sending one of their representatives to do some interviews and kind of feel out what the Caribbean has to offer. And I always like to, my goal really is not just insular with Trinidad, right? We have to do this thing as a region.
Regional. Yeah.
Triathlon is a small sport in the scheme of things with the bigger sports, right? So if we go together, we have the likes of Flora Duffy and all the others. Barbados have a couple of the nationals. Pull together and get that going. I think we'll be on a great path to develop triathlon.
Sure. Just before I let Jason ask another question, Jason, a funny quick story. So when I was with the Caribbean media in Brazil, right, and Flora was favorite to win the girl. Unfortunately, she didn't win it. The excitement of the Caribbean media, their whole thing was someone from the Caribbean's destined to win this gold medal in triathlon, and you would have thought they were from Bermuda, but that pride in the region itself can only bode well if everybody caught on, because it's one of those things where we all felt the flavor and the fever of Usain Bolt as a Caribbean nation. Here you now have a Flora Duffy from Bermuda who's got that same favor and fever for the Caribbean, and I know for sure that even though she doesn't represent the black and red or the red and black, she's from the region in which we all come from, and it's just making them, and they can actually use that as a stepping stone for their athletes to say, hey, somebody from our region is a gold medalist, is a world champion, is all of that, and that it only drives people, and we talk none other than Dame Flora Duffy. So Jay.
Yeah, Earl, it's amazing how you led, because you actually set me up just now, right? So, Colin, I'm thinking more of what Carifta's doing for our regional athletes, because a lot of these athletes, that's where they're getting their testing. Like I said, sometimes it may be their first tournament, and then how that builds well to go into Commonwealth or even to World Championships and things of that nature. But let's speak about the Carifta side of what has Carifta done for the athletes, especially triathletes in Trinidad. What has that done for a growing organization?
I'll speak a little bit from my personal experience, because my son is competing, and he's been on the team for the last 4 years. And what I've seen on every Carifta that we've had, and this is without fail, the camaraderie that is built. My paws are raising as I say it. It's that gelling of youth coming together to compete against one another, but at the end of that event and at the end of that tournament, these youths, I see them exchanging shirts and emails and contacts and everything, and they bond together from the inception in Barbados, and then to Tobago, then to Jamaica, now to Bahamas. That camaraderie, I think that in itself, for a young person, it's value, tremendous value in terms of being on the team, competing, and you all would know about building that sport camaraderie. So I think Carifta has really built that from the athlete level, and then from the administration level, we now have the Carifta and the regional triathlon bodies that are able to group together and then make a more positive representation at the World Triathlon level.
Sure. Sure. Well, Colin, let me just tell you, we're on Saturday and Sunday, we're banning, because we have a large population of Trinidadians in Bermuda, but we're going to be putting up some barriers near the hotel where they're staying, because they still have to travel another probably 3 miles to get to the event. So for those Trinidadians who think they can come down and bang on their pots and pans and blow their whistles, and Gary Rayner, you're not allowed.
No rhythm section at Clearwater.
No rhythm section. No.
I'll just I mean, I'm sorry you got to see me on camera, so you know what I look like now, because I secretly obtained a Bermuda shirt. So when I show up tomorrow on Saturday, you would not have known me, but now I can't do it anymore.
Well, you know what? Like. Listen, I would know the minute I hear those rhythm beats, and right away I'll come over and say, Colin, you need to leave, please. You don't need to leave the island, but you just need to leave this part of it.
But we do, I mean, I've just to say as well, you know, throughout the organization period, where we have been coordinating with the Bermuda Federation on the ground. Right. It's been excellent, you know, everything, all of the logistics, people change flights, they're ready to pick up, drop, all the transportation, all the food, the hotel, the course, you know, overview on everything has been perfect so far. The weather hopefully will remain good, unlike what we are seeing in Miami right now.
Right. So well, we have a bit of that right now, but
a little bit of breeze there.
Okay, but hopefully all the teams could get there and we could have a really, really successful event this weekend.
Well, my hope is that because you're coming, the kids are coming a day before everything kind of ramps up. Well, 2 days before everything wraps up, that the airlines, work with them to make sure that everyone's competition gear, and I'm talking bike and everything, because it's important. Everybody looks at a triathlete and says, okay, you can jump on any bike. No, you want to make sure that that person's equipment, running gear, swimming gear, riding gear, all of that arrives so the person is at their best to compete. And let's hope that that happens starting tonight, that everybody's stuff arrives safely with them on island, so they can probably have a training session tomorrow or even on Friday, and make sure that they're ready for Saturday morning, Clearwater Beach. Colin, thank you very, very much for joining us. And we wish Trinidad all the best. I mean, obviously we want to wish Bermuda the best, but we want all the teams that are coming to Bermuda to experience a good time, a safe time. We know what the sport can do, and we want those relationships and communications to build, because, Jay, back in our day, we would have had to write a pen pal letter. Yeah,
it's amazing, Earl, what technology has done now. Just for you, just talking about one thing, Earl, we mentioned it many times during our shows during COVID, the technology, how that enhanced a lot of relationships, right? Whether it was coaching or even just staying in touch with other athletes. And now with all these type of virtual type of training or stimulating, that they're able to train together, virtually. Once upon a time, you probably had to go to Trinidad and become a training partner with so and so. But now you could get on one of these stimulating machines, you could just go at it. So I just think with the enhancement, I think when countries really take advantage of all the tools that they have and have that camaraderie, have that support, and most importantly, family support, right? That's where it starts from. I think that's when we build not just a great athlete for the local country, but for our region. I think that's what we're really hoping for.
Yeah. Well, Colin, we want to welcome you to Bermuda when you arrive. Yes. Hopefully we see you at Clearwater Beach on Saturday morning. All the best to Trinidad. All the best to all the athletes who will be competing at the Carifta Triathlon this coming weekend in Bermuda. So with that, we say good night. Colin, look forward to seeing you. Enjoy your night.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.